The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Live. I'm Shannon Penrod. We're coming to you live this morning, actually like a minute or so early, which is very exciting because so much is different right now. Is everybody dealing a little bit with the time change thing? Just wondering. Write into me and tell me if it's a little bit wonky for you today. I am always struggling in the morning to get where I need to be and have my face on and all of those things. And this morning I just have been like 45 minutes early to pretty much everything. I think because I was really 15 minutes late. You know what I'm saying? Just wondering, anybody else having the same experience? But it's super fun. Hey, we are going to be talking today about the 10 tips to get your child to eat healthier, but I want to start by welcoming all of you and thanking all of you. We've had so much going on, and I don't want to minimize that we still have a lot of stuff going on here at the Autism Network. As you guys know, Dr. Doreen Grant-Pichet is once again the owner of CARD, and I have stepped back into a role there, which is wonderful and I'm excited about, but has taken me a little bit away. We have acquired the fabulous Chris Desmond, who has come in. Good morning, Susie B. So Chris has been here, and we've been sorting out some technical issues that we've been having. Then we had the All Ghouls Gala, and right now I am so knee deep in the toy guide, which is coming out in like 10 days. Somebody like pinch me, because that's hard for me to get my head wrapped around. But that's where we are. So there's a lot of stuff going on. I want you to know that those of you who have stuck with us, because we've been doing a lighter show rotation now for a couple of different months. Hey, Rosie. See, and my thing is working again because Chris is amazing. So glad to have you guys here with us this morning, because I think this is a really important topic, but I also just want to share that, you know, we are still here. We are still fighting the good fight with all of you to make sure that you get information and inspiration. Helen, good morning. So glad to have my peeps with me. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, maybe, I am Shannon Penrod. I am a proud pony. I know I don't look like a pony, but pony in this respect means a parent of a neurodiverse individual. I've been a part of the autism community now for, I think we're in the 18th year. We're about to be 18th year anniversary, I think. And been hosting shows about autism for 15 of those years, which is kind of crazy to believe. And we're starting our 14th year here at Autism Live now with the Autism Network. So I always say to people, I'm not an expert in the field of autism. I'm 100% sure that I'm not an expert in the field of autism, but I have learned a great deal, and I'm still sitting in the front row as a student learning. And I hope you guys are there with me. We learn from each other. And you know what I always say here, we hold hands and si se puede, right? Okay. I also want to let you guys know that we're live right now, and we've thinned out where we're live because we think that that was part of our technical issue. So we are live right now on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and I think when we're live on several different Facebooks. So hopefully you're finding us. If you're not, make sure that I know about it. You can write in on those platforms right now, and I will be able to see your comments. Just like I said hi to Susie and Rosie and Helen, you can write in, and I'd love to hear from you. And you know, it's very exciting that Chris is going to show you some of the places that where you can watch us live, but also he's going to show you some of the places where you can watch us later on. We are a podcast. We go live because we think it's fun to be live. We think it's fun to interact with you and those of you who can join us live, but we know that the vast majority of you don't have time at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, so you're listening in podcasts. We hope that you will continue to do that. We work very hard to make that a free download for you wherever you get your podcasts. It does mean that there is a cost, obviously, to do the show, to do the production, and then there's a cost. Every time you download the show, there is a cost, and we have to defray that cost. because I did not win the $1 billion lotto, and I am as shocked as you are about that, but that is the truth. So we do have wonderful advertisers that you will hear on the podcast, and we hope that you will listen to their ads and say, hey, listening to this saved me money and so that I don't have to pay for this content. However, there are some of you who have said, I'd rather pay for the content. If you'd like to do that, you can go to glow, glow.fm/autism live. It is a $5 a month thing that you pay, and when you pay that, you get a download version of Autism Live and Ask Dr. Doreen, and they are ad-free. Look at you. How exciting is that? I do want to encourage you, if you're going to do that, to pay for it for the year. You will get a discount on that because they take a substantial portion of what you pay per month for running your credit card. And for doing that, that doesn't come to us. And so when they don't take that, when it's yearly, we pass that savings on to you. So it is cheaper if you buy it by the year. But don't feel obligated to do that because you can listen for free with the advertisers. All right. Have I forgotten everything? Anything? All things? I think so. But I really want to get into the topic today because this is a super important topic. And it's one of the things that, boy, there's like 10 topics that you guys, whenever I see you in person or when you write to me, that you're really writing about. You're writing about school, you're writing about toileting, you're writing about challenging behaviors, you're writing about focus, you're writing about sleep. Did I already say that one? But you also write about your child's diet. And this is an area where I sort of feel like it affects everything else. School, did I say school? That's the other thing. I think that having your child have a really healthy diet pretty much has an impact on everything that you do, because it does. And we experience this too. I have a friend who ate just slightly different the other day, and it was out, and they had food that they don't normally have. They were being epicurious, as my son always likes to be. And the next day they were like, man, I don't feel good. I don't feel right. I can't do what I would normally do today. So, and was it full of sugar at the food that they ate? And was it full of gluten? And was it full of dairy? Ding, 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 right? And the person is somebody who is like, man, I just, I didn't realize how big of an impact this could make on me. So I wanted today, we've talked about going gluten-free. We've talked about going dairy-free so that you don't have the milk protein casein in your diet. We have presentations about all of that. But I thought it might be fun just to talk about, in general, how do you work towards getting your child healthier? Because you're busy. I know that for sure. You're busy and you got a lot of things to do, and eating healthily can be really expensive. And I just realized something that I left off to this PowerPoint that's pretty important. We'll talk about it though. I'll add it in. I think I have 11 and I'm going to add a 12th one in. But anyway, I'm going to run through this really quickly, what the tips are, including the extra one, and then we'll go through and talk about them one by one, because I think that it will be helpful. At least one or two of these might help you with a tip or two, okay? So let's take a look at number one. Take your child, teen or adult child or little child, with you shopping for healthy food. This is an important concept because when food just shows up, a lot of times we're not willing to try it, but take them shopping. Well, I'm going to give you some tips on how to do that and make it fun. Number two, have them grow food. We want to connect them to the process, the food chain, so that they understand where food comes. Let's take a look at number three. Only present healthy, colorful food at peak hunger times. I'll give you tips on that as well. It's an important one. Number four, present healthy foods at every meal with no battles. I'll give you tips on that. Number five, have your child prepare healthy foods. Number six, sneak flavors in to boost nutrition. That right there, if you're watching, that's a carrot cake, and there are carrots in there. If you're, sneak that food in there. Okay, number seven. Don't eliminate preferred foods. Start by making the healthiest choice, and I'll specify what I mean by that. Number eight, eat the rainbow, which is super, super fun. Number nine, offer preferred treats as a reward for trying new foods, which is a really great way to make that happen. Number 10, Dun, da, da, da. Model eating healthy food. Oh, I just lost some of you. You're like, I don't want to eat chickpeas. Let me tell you how you do that. Number 11, have healthy choices ready. And number 12, that I didn't put on there, that's one of the most important things. I can't believe I forgot it. Use the Dirty Dozen Clean 15 as a guideline for what to do organic. That's a really, really important one. All right, let's reset and go through these one by one. So studies have shown, and Jamie Oliver was telling this many, many years ago, that part of the disconnect with diet today in the world, but I'm going to specifically talk about kids in the United States, is they don't know where food comes from anymore. They don't know what food is. I remember, I'm going to tell a story on a friend of mine many, many years. Look, none of us know what every food is, right? But it's good to know what lots and lots of foods are. Years and years ago, when I was living in New York City, I had a friend from college, and we went to college in this sleepy little upstate New York town that, you know, they were not having exotic fruits and vegetables in that town in the mid-'80s. Living in New York, and the friend came down, and we stopped at a little corner grocery store in New York where they have like the salad bars that are, and you can take, and that you weigh it and you get whatever. And they had kiwi at the salad bar, and he said, "What? I don't know what that is." I said, "That's kiwi. You've never had a kiwi before?" And he was like, "I have." He was from Utica, New York. He'd never seen a kiwi, didn't know what it was, and this was peeled and sliced kiwi. It's a young man now with a college education. He doesn't know what a kiwi is, because sometimes that's the thing, right? So he tried it, and he said, "This is so good. How have I never tried a kiwi before?" And so it was like 2 weeks later that I was someplace, and he showed up with a little brown bag, and he was so proud of himself, and he said, "Look what I bought you." And I opened it up, and it was Kirby cucumbers, little like pickling cucumbers. And I said, "Thank you." And he said, "No, it's those things that we had at the salad bar." I said, "Oh, no, that's not what these are at all. These are Kirby cucumbers." And he thought kiwi Kirby. And so then I had to take him to a store and show him, because the outside of kiwis do not look like the inside of kiwis. And it reminds me all the time that there are things that, if we haven't experienced them, we need to be educated about them. My family laughs about the fact that I stand in the produce aisle and I purchase things, and I guess I purchase different, like I love parsnips. Oh my goodness, and especially this time of year, a parsnip in a soup is divine. And apparently, there's a whole generation of people who have forgotten about parsnips and don't know what they are. And anytime I purchase parsnips anywhere, at least 5 people in the store will stop me and go, "Are those white carrots? What are those?" And when I say, "No, those are parsnips," and they go, "What do you do with them?" And I will stand and talk about, "Oh my goodness, parsnips are fabulous, and here's how you cook them." And people go, "Really?" There was a lady the other day in a Trader Joe's that I cannot remember what it was that I purchased, and she was like, "What are you doing with that?" Oh, it was apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar. And she was like, what is that? And should it have that sediment on the bottom of it? And I was like, "Oh yeah, absolutely. And here are the 5 things that I do with apple cider vinegar." We all kind of, and there are things that when I see somebody buying something that I don't know what it is, I will go, "What is that? How do you cook that? What do you put that in?" So do that for your kiddo. Take them to the store, show them things. Listen, if you have littler kids, it's a great time to go in the store and be labeling things and labeling colors. You can go on a treasure hunt in the grocery store and say, "Let's find 3 green things, let's find 2 orange things, and let's find 1 brown thing," right? And have them, and if you're in the little produce section, it's pretty contained. Whether your child is sitting in the cart or walking along next to you, have them do the treasure hunt. I'll tell you something, when you do that, it makes it fun for them, because now we're looking at colors and we're labeling what the things are, but then they're curious about it. So when you get home, you can, slice these things open, prepare them in a certain way, and have them learn. A kiwi is brown on the inside, but it's green on the inside, and it's colorful, and it's flavorful, and it tastes like candy, right? But you would never know that from the outside of it. So take them shopping for healthy food. I especially love if you have a farmer's market in your area, now is the time. This is the time of year to go to your local farmer's market. For some of you, it's not going to be much longer. Here in California, we have them year round and it's lovely, but things go in and out of cycling. And I love the opportunity to go to a farmer's market, connect with the farmer who grew the food to talk about how they grew it, if it's pesticide free, if they use, sustainable farming, whatever it is. And I will be honest with you that when we used to do this, every Sunday, my son and I would go to the farmer's market in our community, and we would listen to they had the car, this is how long ago it was, they would have the car guys on NPR, and we would listen to the two guys laughing and talking about cars. My son learned so much about cars. And then right after that, Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me would come on, and we would laugh about some of the news stories because they would play these games where, which news story is this? So my son was learning about cars and about news local and national news in a fun way, very fun way, as we went to the farmer's market. And he got to know some of the farmers. He knew their names, they knew him. I would say to him, which stand do you want to go to first? There were things that he was like, oh, there was a guy who made homemade sausage, and he got into conversations about the sausage, and I'm talking he was little, and people made an effort. It's not like when you go to this grocery store and everybody's in a bustle, they make an effort to get to know people. I think it's a good community thing, but it connects your child to the food, and if they have a choice in what they're purchasing, what you're purchasing, they're gonna be more likely to taste it. So take them shopping, make it fun, make a treasure hunt. Okay, number 2, have them grow the food. I don't know what happened, but it used to be, and maybe they're still doing this in some schools, in kindergarten and first grade, they would give each child a plastic cup, a paper towel, a little bit of dirt, and a bean seed, right? And they would stick them in the plastic cups with a wet paper towel and a little bit of dirt, and sometimes they would cover them with saran wrap, but the reason why it was a clear cup so that they could watch the seed germinate and grow. And then they always sent the plant home, and I don't think anybody ever grew a bean from it. I think that that's a great way to start, and if they're not doing that with your child, or it's never too late. You can do this with a 22-year-old, right? That we're gonna take and we're gonna plant some seeds. When you do this, you're learning about all different kinds of things that are super important. And remember that there's a deep potential that you're gonna find an interest. I can think of at least one person that I know that is on the spectrum and is nonverbal, that when his mom had him doing some of this, they discovered this is his great passion, that he now works at an organic garden, and that this is what he loves and this is what he's gonna do for the rest of his life. So now, my son, not so much. I grow things in the garden and he could almost care less. But it did connect him to, oh, you plant food and you put water on it and food comes up and then you have to pick it, and there are things that you have to do. I'm thinking, right now I'm growing Chinese long beans in my front yard, and I don't ever want to eat another bean again as long as I live. I always forget that 4 bean plants is enough for any 18 people to eat for the rest of their lives. And I think I planted like 20, and it's craziness. But it's exciting. I have, neighbor people come over and go, what are you planting today? And then they watch as it flourishes. But there are times when a bug infestation will come, or the plant dies, or things of that nature, that it doesn't fully come to being food. That's a good lesson too, because it teaches us about, that when we actually have food from plants, we don't want to waste them, right? That there's an effort involved here. So we're not being, willy-nilly about, oh, I'm just not going to eat that green bean, and, because that took a whole lot of water and time and energy to grow that green bean. So as I'm thinking about all the green beans in my yard that are rotting on the vine because I just can't, and I've given them to so many people, nobody is going to take another bean from me again. But this is a great learning experience, and I know you think, oh, I have a picky eater, but this is one of the ways that you can get them to eat healthier. It's a great, great lesson too. So let's move on to number 3. All right. There are peak times of the day when your child is ravenously hungry, right? And I have a friend who taught me this, and boy, what a powerful, powerful thing. We had a group of friends, and everybody would talk about, well, my child is picky, my child won't eat this, my child won't eat that. And this friend noticed that when she was away at Disneyland, that all that there was available, there was a period of time when all 3 of her kids were hungry, and the only thing that they could get were apple slices at Disneyland. And that was, they weren't wanting to spoil dinner or whatever, but that's all that they could get. And all of her kids sat down and ate apple slices like it was the best thing on the planet. And this sort of triggered in her mind, if they're hungry, they will eat an apple, but if they have choices about eating other things, they will eat a chocolate bar, right? So she decided to play with this a little bit, and every afternoon at about 3 o'clock, when she was starting to plan out dinner and start to cook dinner, she would take and chop colorful, healthy foods like peppers and tomatoes and cucumbers and carrots and apples and even peel an orange, whatever, and she would put it out on a little platter on the kitchen counter, and she would start to cook dinner. And one by one, the smells happen in your kitchen, and one by one her kids would come in and say, what's for dinner? I'm hungry. I want it. Very typical pattern, right? And they would want something. Now, our kids will just start to act out. But that is communication too. And if they had the ability to say to us, they would say, I'm hungry, I want something, I don't want to wait for dinner. But she had that platter of, fun stuff, and she would say, this is what's available. It wasn't a battle, it wasn't a discussion. This is what's available. I'm cooking dinner, it's a surprise, this is what's available. And she would sort of push the thing in their direction. And to begin with, they didn't want it. But gradually, one of them was like, I'm hungry enough, and probably grabbed one of the sweeter things, one of the higher sugar content things that was on the platter, like oranges or apples or the carrots, right? But eventually, her kids learned, I'm hungry, so I'm going to snack on these things. Now, did she occasionally put out a dip? Because a dip makes all kinds of things palatable. Yes, but she wouldn't put out very much dip. And if you need to put out your ranch or whatever your kiddo will eat with those things with, then you do that. What she found, and then so many of us followed her footsteps and found, oh, this thing actually works, is that on average, her kids were eating a serving of fruit or vegetables before dinner. So that when she got to dinner, she would still do what we're going to talk about in a second and put the vegetable on the plate, but there was no battle. No battle whatsoever, no discussion about it, no nothing, and she would know that some vegetables got into her child, it didn't spoil their appetite, and occasionally she would have to give something to the dog or put it in a stew or into a soup, but most of the time the stuff on the platter was eaten and enjoyed. So I don't want to say that this is our lack of, this isn't us being silly or not thinking this through. It's just this is a trick. This is a trick that when you are hungry, you are more likely to eat things that you wouldn't eat if you weren't hungry, right? So we're going to take advantage of those peak times by only and having a huge boundary that we don't put out Halloween candy during that time. We don't, I know this is hard because we've talked about the Kool-Aid thing during when you're doing homework. If you're doing that, that would be the exception, right? And by the way, if your kids are a little bit older and you're doing homework time, this is another ideal time to put that colorful plate of whatever and be surprised by what they will eat. Okay, so now let's move on to number 4. So this is the second part of it. At every single meal, and the research is very clear on this, at every single meal, you want to present healthy food on the plate. And that's it. So, let's say that you made chicken nuggets and French fries for dinner, and you decided that you were going to put some snow peas on the plate. So you do that, and you put, 4 snow peas on the plate, and it looks very pretty. And you give that to your child, and there is no discussion about it. You don't say to them, you have to take a bite, you must eat this amount of it. You don't get up until you're done eating those things. You just put them on the plate. I know, seems like a waste of food because you're going to be taking that off the plate when you take it away. But here's what research shows, that if you do that something like 22 times, that at some point your child will try it. I know it sounds wrong, and I don't always believe it. But whenever we have this conversation, and I put this out to you guys, and I go, try it. I say be willing to try it 30 times. And I know sometimes that means that you're taking it off the plate and putting it in a little Ziploc baggie. Don't put slimy food back out. Put it in a soup, stew, whatever. Put fresh, colorful, healthy food on the plate every single time. Every single time. But no discussion. That's the hardest part, y'all. That is the hardest part, because we want to go, it wouldn't kill you to try that. Just one bite. That turns into a battle. Research shows us that's not the way. Not the way. Present it and don't have a discussion about it. And don't say, oh, you're wasting food. Nada. Just present it and see what happens. I'm challenging all of you to do that. Try it 30 times and tell me if your child eventually tastes it. Now, it's critical that it be healthy, tasty, prepared properly. If you're doing cooked vegetables, a lot of times we overcook vegetables, and we know that kids have more taste buds than we do as an adult. Like, I love burnt broccoli. Oh my gosh, can you make me some burnt broccoli? I don't like raw broccoli. I like burnt broccoli. But the reality is, if I was a 7-year-old, burnt broccoli would taste really bad to me because it's filled with a very bitter acid that my old taste buds love. Don't give your kids burnt vegetables. Undercook them a little bit, or give them fresh vegetables that are super fresh. Don't give any wobbly carrots, right? No, nothing slimy. It has to be good, right? Present it 30 times. Tell me what happens. No battles, no discussion, no nothing, no recriminations, no bargaining, nada. Research shows that you will make inroads, and write to me and tell me what you found. Number 5. So part of, shopping for the food, growing the food, and the third part is preparing healthy foods. I love the moms who get in the kitchen with their kids. Now, I think it's important to think it through and think, what would my child like to make? What is a fun thing for my child to make? When my son was little, one of the first videos that we ever made was about making pink lemonade. We would go to the mall and everybody would get the pink lemonade at the hot dog on the stick stand. And he wanted pink lemonade. And he was not having sugar, excuse me. He was not having artificial flavors, and there were a whole bunch, like he wasn't having grapefruit. There were a whole bunch of things that he was not having. So we decided what he would have at Hot Dog on the Stick is that we would have them just juice the lemons for him, no sugar, and put it with crushed ice. But he really, really, really wanted it to be pink. And one day I was opening a can of organic beets that were canned, and they, beets bleed, and they make the water that they're packed in turn red. And so I put just a little splash of the beet water juice into his lemon, and it made pink lemonade. Excuse me. So we decided to make a video. It exists on YouTube somewhere. And you can see me many, many years ago with dark hair. And my son was probably 6, maybe 7. And because he said, we have to make a video about this, Mom. People need to know it. He said it tasted so good. It actually sweetened it a little bit. And eventually we got a juicer, and I would juice the beets so that I wouldn't be using canned beets. But that was the beginning for him wanting to be in the kitchen. And he loves to cook now, loves to prepare very weird things. During the pandemic, I was ordering squid ink online so that we could make squid ink pasta. I have no desire to ever eat squid ink in my life, but he wanted, because he loves to cook. There was a cooking class that a friend did about how to make bagels at home during the pandemic, that we did that as well. And we saw that movie, 1,000 Years a Slave, I think, and they make those chickpea, rose water, and there's pistachio and some other ingredient, the little cookies that melt in your mouth. And he was like, we need to get the ingredients. I want to make that. Go into the kitchen with your child and think about what do they like and start there. In a second, I'm going to be asking you to make things as healthy as possible. But if what your child likes to start with, for instance, is cupcakes, then go in the first time make the cupcakes and make them the way that you always make them. And then later on, say, oh, let's sneak an ingredient in and shred some carrots and put the carrots in and show them that you're doing that, right? And have them taste to see if it tastes good. Some kids will get freaked out about the fact that there's carrots in it. And if you have that kiddo, we're going to give you another step in a second. But a lot of kids will think that it's super fun, especially if there's somebody else in the house that you're trying to trick. Like for us, it was always Dad. My husband is the worst about eating healthy foods. And so I would always say, let's sneak some carrots in so we can get Dad to eat the carrots. And my son thought this was hilarious. And then we would all practice taking a bite out of it. So he had the bite. And my husband would eat and go, oh, these are great. This is amazing. What did you do? They're so fabulous. And then it was our little secret. Bring your kids into the kitchen. Have them see what it takes to prepare things. It's good for them long term, and it will help them to make better choices. Okay, moving on to number 6. Oh, here we go. Sneaking flavors in to boost the nutrition. So a long time ago, Jerry Seinfeld's wife, I think her name is Jessica, I'm having a senior moment, I can't remember. She put out a cookbook. She came on Oprah, and she put out this cookbook, and it was all about sneaking healthy food into your child's diet. Now, she got a ton of crap from people about, you shouldn't be, you should be teaching your child to actually eat broccoli, not sneaking it into their chicken nuggets. And if you have to sneak it in, you're not doing right, blah, 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 blah. And I just felt so bad for her because I thought it was amazing. I tried a bunch of the recipes. They're fabulous. I'm sure you can still get the book somewhere online. I thought it was really worth it. There is a chicken nugget recipe where you put blended broccoli in it, and it makes a really fun coating for it. But I'm somebody who likes to look at a cookbook for inspiration, and then I want to off-road. I want to make it my way because we have allergies, I have allergies, all these other things. So we started years ago making meatloaf. And what I would do, and you start with a very small amount. Instead of putting eggs and breadcrumbs into the meatloaf, because you need something to kind of hold it all together. And most of the time people put breadcrumbs, eggs, and cheese into the meatloaf to hold it together. Well, I decided that I was going to put carrots and broccoli into the meatloaf. And carrots are a very high sugar vegetable, and so it adds sort of a sweetness to it. And I started by just adding a little bit. I had turkey meat, and I steamed the carrots and the broccoli, and then I pureed them. And then I used that, no eggs, no breadcrumbs, no cheese, and I baked the whole thing. And my husband, who is a meat and potato eater, was like, this is the best meatloaf I've ever had. So, and my son and I laughed up our sleeves. We were just like, bah ha ha, right? And over time, I experimented with, I just started with a very little bit to begin with, maybe like 5 carrots and 1 stalk of broccoli, right? But over time, I started adding more and more into it, and then I added onions into it, and it's a different kind of meatloaf. Then somebody, but really, really good. Then somebody brought me meatballs that were made, that were just turkey and arugula. And I was like, these are the best thing ever. Tried to find the recipe, tried to find arugula. Nobody had arugula. I said, I bet I could do this with spinach. And we started making spinach meatballs. And I make them all the time for parties, and everybody goes, oh my gosh, these meatballs, they're so fabulous, and they're so moist, and they're, and they have just a little tinge of green to them that makes them look like you've used parsley, but they don't really look green, and I put a lot of spinach into my meatballs. There are all kinds of things that you can do to sneak flavors in to boost the nutrition. But here's the other thing that this does. The studies show that if there, there's a study that was done, and I think it was chocolate and pureed spinach that they were using to prove that you can get a child to eat spinach. And how they did this was they had a chocolate bar, and the deal was that if the child ate, just a tiny little morsel of the spinach, then they could have the big chocolate bar, right? And then they started gradually changing the dimensions of it. And they were actually mixing them together. I know, I can't even hardly say that. I love spinach and I'm allergic to chocolate, but putting spinach in chocolate to me is wrong. I'm sure that it violates some, crime, human crime thing in the world. But the point is that if you mix one flavor with another flavor, it allows the palate to get used to the flavor that it's unused to, and as you gradually change the proportions of them, they found that you could get a child to just eat spinach with no chocolate in it over time, over a lot of time. I like to sort of jumpstart this a little bit without telling them, so putting the carrots and the broccoli into the meatloaf is not only getting the flavor in there and getting the nutrition in there, but you're teaching the palate to be okay with it. As I said, I did this with my husband, and it worked. I didn't have to do this, with my son because when I gave birth to him, I was a vegetarian, not a vegan. Now I'm vegan. But I was a vegetarian. There were always vegetables around, and he loved to eat vegetables because I was presenting them, I think, way more than a person normally would. So he had already acclimatized to them. I always tell the story about when I took him when he was little, maybe 1.5 to IKEA. We had to drop somebody off at the airport, and then or maybe we were picking somebody up from the airport, but anyway, we got stuck. I didn't have diaper bag with me, and he was hungry, I was hungry, so we went up to the little lunchnet part of IKEA, and the only thing that they really had that we could eat was they had steamed vegetables that were like broccoli and cauliflower and carrots and snow peas. And so I ordered like 3 little plates, side plates of it, so that we could have something to nosh on before we were going to the airport. And I remember what my son was wearing. He was in these little blue overalls, and I put him up in the little high chair seat into the chair, and he was just little guy. And I slid one of the plates in front of him, and I was tucking into the vegetables, and he devoured that plate like his life depended upon it. And at a certain point, I started to look around and realize everybody in the place was watching us. And finally, these 2 ladies walked up to me and said, "How do you do that?" And I said, "What?" And they said, "How do you get a baby to eat vegetables like that? We've never seen anything like that." And I said, "Oh, he's hungry. That's how you get," right? Which goes back to one of our tips earlier. During hungry times, you present healthy foods. And I said, "Oh, he's totally hungry." If there had been chicken nuggets there, he would have tucked into those too, but there weren't chicken nuggets there. And that's up to us. That's within our control. And, we forgive ourselves for the past, but when we know better, we do better. Put out the healthy stuff. And sneak things in to get them used to new flavors. Okay, let's go on to number 7. We don't want to cold turkey anybody, right? That if I said to you, your 5 favorite foods right now, I'm going to take them completely away from you and you can never have them again. I don't know when you're ever going to have them again. I think you would get emotional. I know I would get emotional. I would be like, no. I am the woman that I love bananas. I love bananas. And many years ago, I got allergy tested, and I thought that I had become allergic to milk again. And I had said to my husband, I said, it's going to come back that I'm allergic to milk. And I said, I'm going to get through that. That's going to be okay. And he said, really? Because, you eat a lot of yogurt. And I said, yeah, no, I'm going to live through that. I just hope and pray that I don't come back allergic to bananas. And then there we were. I literally cried on the phone with the person who told me. I was like, no. And bananas is like peanuts. You can't mess around with that, right? Nobody wants to be told you can't eat that anymore. What's the first thought that comes if I said to you, oh, you can't, you can never have spaghetti again? you'd start obsessing about spaghetti and you'd want spaghetti and you'd find a way to have spaghetti, right? And if you're just a small person who doesn't have great communication skills, it's going to feel really horrible when you cannot communicate, no, I really don't want to have my spaghetti line cut off. So number 7 is we don't eliminate preferred foods. We start out by saying, okay, what's the healthiest choice we can make around this preferred food? So for those of you listening in podcast, I have a picture of a hamburger, but if you look closely at the hamburger, it's got a bunch of vegetables stuffed into it. It's on a whole grain bun, whether it's gluten-free or not, we don't know. But it's just the healthiest burger that you could possibly come across. And if I'm really being very, studious about this and thinking, how can I make the healthiest burger that there is? I would be using lean meat. I would probably be using organic meat. I might eventually, mix something into the meat that, like shredded carrots or something like that just gives it that boost, right? But I'm not doing away with hamburgers. So if right now your kiddo is obsessed with chicken nuggets and French fries, I'm not saying eliminate those. I am saying what's the healthiest chicken nugget that we can give this child. And that might mean going to an organic chicken nugget that's gluten-free. It might mean getting Jessica Seinfeld's cookbook and learning how she uses broccoli to coat them. I don't know. Or it could be that it's like, well, we're going to keep getting the nuggets where we get them and the French fries the way we get them, but we're going to add other things in. But let's not cold turkey anybody, right? If the thing that your child is obsessed with is Burger King French fries, which I've had this conversation with one mom. She was like, it has to be from Burger King. They just taste different, and they can't be older than 10 minutes old because he won't eat them, right? Then I'm not going to monkey with that, but I'm going to add other things in for a while. But eventually, we want to wean them off of these things that they're perseverating on so that they don't have them as often, that it becomes a treat. Just don't try to do that overnight. Don't make yourself miserable. Don't make them miserable. Life is too short. Okay, number 8. We're going to teach ourselves and our kids to eat the rainbow. This is one of my favorite phrases, and this is the time of year to do it. Because this is a reason to go to the farmer's market. Everything is in harvest mode right now. So, right now, this is so much easier to do. And you don't have to go far. If you don't want to go to the farmer's market, you can go to Costco. And they have the rainbow at Costco right now. I was there the other day. It's a madhouse. I saw it. The rainbow was there. And think in terms of that for your kiddos. And that can be part of your treasure hunt too. So, you set out to go to the store and you say, okay, today we're going to eat the rainbow. We're going to make a rainbow on our plate. So what are the different colors in the rainbow? And so you're teaching colors, and then you go on the treasure hunt to find those things and then have them line it out on the plate. It's important to talk about the color of food because some of our kids are food selective and only like certain textures or certain colors, right? And when it's texture, there's lots of things that we can play with, right? When it's colors, we need to be a little bit adventuresome and get them. And maybe in the beginning, you can't get them to eat the whole rainbow, but you put the whole rainbow out and say, pick one color. What one color are you and I going to eat together right now? But when we make food fun and play with the food a little bit, it makes it a little bit less rigid for our kids, and we want that less rigidity. All right, number 9, we're rounding the corner here. Offer preferred treats as a reward for trying new foods. So whenever you're making a treat or there is a treat that's available, this can become an opportunity if you're mindful. Now, we said before that we're putting the healthy food on the plate and we're not having a battle with that food, right? But there's no such thing as something for nothing, right? So if you've got cupcakes and grandma comes over and she brings cupcakes, then we say, okay, and this is not on the plate. This is a different outside of time. This is a specific treat. This is not a meal. This is a treat. And we say, ooh, there's cupcakes. I'll tell you what, I will give you this full cupcake if you will eat one bite of whatever the thing is that you've been working on. And please start with foods that are actually foods that kids will eat. We always talk about the strawberry mom years ago, the mom who could not get her son to eat a strawberry. And strawberries are one of those things that, while not everybody loves strawberries, it's very rare that somebody is like, I just hate strawberries, right? That sometimes you have to cut them up, or, people like the certain types of strawberries, or they like cooked strawberries, not raw strawberries, or they like frozen, but usually you can figure out a way to get somebody to eat the strawberry, but he just didn't want to eat the strawberry. And this was one of the things that that Dr. Grant Bichet talked about, is have a treat in the house that you know that he loves. But again, remember, this is not mealtime. Don't make meal times a battle. But this is an outside of mealtime thing. There's a treat and you go, oh, we can have this. You can have the whole thing of this. I just need you to take one bite of strawberry. Don't make it a battle. It's an offering, a one time only. If you take one bite of this, you can have this. And when they get emotional, you go, oh, we don't have to do this right now, and put it away. Put it away. Don't succumb to, but I want the cupcake. It's very simple. You want the cupcake, you take one bite of strawberry. And this is how you work in trying new foods. Now, do the children sometimes make faces? Do they sometimes gag? Are there even some kids that will go to the extreme to actually throw up if they're trying something? Yes. And this is why I encourage you to start with things that actually taste good. I'm a vegan. I don't like wax beans. Can I eat them? Yes. I don't like them. I don't love kale. I know that makes me like, not American in 2023, but I don't like kale. And guess what? Kale doesn't like me. I don't like it in my stomach. But I'll eat a kale chip. I'll eat a kale chip. I absolutely will. So, but my point in this is, don't pick something that, is one of those kind of out there kinds of things. Pick a strawberry, pick a banana, pick something that your child isn't having now that you'd like for them to try, that reasonably, they're not going to hate the flavor, right? And then offer a big something for a little something. That's how you start. And then gradually over time, you would say, okay, you can have this half of this cupcake, but you have to have 2 bites of banana. Or, you can have the whole cupcake for the whole banana. You're going to change the equation. But in the beginning, one bite, no argument. And they get emotional, you step away. And you get busy washing a dish, whatever. Don't give it fuel. Don't negotiate past that. Once you negotiate, then they know that it is a negotiation and they're going to get around you. They are smarter than us, let's be honest. So don't do that with them. Adrienne, I'm so glad you're here with us. Everybody's been so quiet. All right, let's go on to number 10. We have to model healthy eating. That means I did say to those ladies in IKEA, I'm sitting here eating the vegetables with him. If you are eating it and making a face, then they're actually learning from your face. That is not an enjoyable thing to have. I'm going to use the example of Brussels sprouts, because Brussels sprouts are one of those things that they're pretty acid too. A lot of kids don't love Brussels sprouts, but isn't it funny that now Brussels sprouts are the thing again? And I've met grown men that they're now like, have you had Brussels sprouts? Brussels sprouts are so good. And I want to say to them, Brussels sprouts were always good. Your taste buds weren't always fabulous, but and now people are making them and putting prosciutto in, and goat cheese and walnuts in with their. It's Thanksgiving, right? And people are doing all kinds of things with their Brussels sprouts, making them really, really tasty. You can make healthy food tasty for you so that you can palate it. Do that. You have to model eating healthy food. We have a big holiday coming up here in the United States. It's all about food. Crazy, crazy, crazy about food. And I want to encourage everybody to put colors on your table so that everything isn't white. The turkey is white, the mashed potatoes are white. Make sure that you have some sweet potatoes in there, right? And then you need to model. If you're saying to your child, you have to have a bite of everything, you got to have a bite of everything too. And so does whoever the other people that are going to be there. You model the behavior. And I guarantee you, I have a little niece that she comes to visit every once in a while, and vegetables are not her thing. And can I say that they're not her daddy's thing either? But she comes to my house and I'm sitting eating a bowl of zoodles, zucchini noodles, and it looks fabulous when I'm eating it because I'm enjoying my food. And she was like, "What's that? I want some of that." And I said, "I don't think you do." And because I had offered her zucchini the day before, and she said, "No, I want some of what you're having." And so I made her some of it, and she was like, "Ah, that's terrible." Um, Now she eats zoodles. She eats zoodles when she comes to my house and asks for zoodles. So it's that thing about being willing, presenting, take time, but I modeled it. Would she be eating zoodles now if she had not seen me eating zoodles? No. So we have to model eating the healthy food. All right. Number 11 is have healthy choices ready at all times, right? We talked about picking those high hunger times that we already know are coming, like that 3:30 time zone, or right when they come home from school. One of the things I used to do is I would send my son with way too much food in his lunch, and I would cut up cucumbers and carrots and peppers and things and have bags of the little cherry tomatoes all in Ziplocs in his lunch. And he would never eat it at lunch because he was busy trying to socialize. He wouldn't eat a whole lot at lunch because there was so much going on and he didn't know how to really do that when he was little. But it was also too much food for him to eat during lunch. And my husband would say, "What are you doing?" And I would go, "No, I pick him up and he eats all of that in the car on the way home," right? Always have something ready. My mom was the queen of this, that she would, whenever we would get in the car, she would have a bag of like cucumbers and carrots, little Ziploc bags that she would keep in her purse. And when somebody would get hungry, she would be like, "Oh, eat this." Always have something ready. If that means when you go to the farmer's market and you come back and you wash it all and cut it all like Rachel Ray and stick it into, glass containers where you can see what it is so that you can just grab and go, do that. Because the reason why I think Americans, why we all enjoy snack food so much is that we get hungry and it's there. And you don't have to wash it, you don't have to cut it up, but it's there. So if you can get things ready ahead of time and have them always at the ready, then you'll be able to make those healthy choices much easier. And then number 12 that I didn't put on the PowerPoint, but that I had forgotten, if you just do one thing today, start following the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. You can just Google it right now. I know I Googled it not that long ago, and I was interested because it's always a little bit different. Every year, the Environmental Working Group, Ken Cook and his folks over there that are so amazing, we've had Ken Cook on the show before, they test fruits and vegetables in the United States to see what did they put a whole bunch of pesticides on for this year. And it's different every year because some squash bug comes and then all of a sudden all the squash has pesticides on it for that year. But then the next year, the squash bug has been eliminated and there's plentiful organic squash that has not had any pesticides on it. We really want to lower the amount of pesticides in our kids' diet because it does make a difference. And how it presents is in ADHD-like behaviors. If your child is having trouble focusing, reduce the pesticide load in their diet and watch the difference. It's amazing. Absolutely amazing and worthwhile to do, but it's very expensive to buy solely organic, right? So Ken Cook and his people at Environmental Working Group put out the list of the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. Now, the Clean 15 are things that across the board, whether you're in a restaurant or in a store during that year, you can buy it not organic and know that you're really okay. And it's fascinating. You can just go and buy the conventional stuff. The Dirty Dozen, whatever is on the Dirty Dozen for that year, I pay particular attention and I never eat it unless it's organic, and I certainly don't give it to my child unless it's organic, and that includes restaurants. And that's hard sometimes because they'll have things that you go, "Oh, that's going to be tough getting that organic." But do yourself a favor and look it up for this year, for 2023, and see what the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. We have a minute. I think I might just look that up and we can talk it through. Now, I will tell you, if you don't have internet access, a cheap way of doing this, I'm putting in Dirty Dozen, Clean 15. Here we go. Dirty Dozen Clean 15 list. It's Environmental Working Group's 2023 Shopper's Guide to Pesticides and Produce. And it might be, okay, I've got the Clean 15 here. This was the one that surprised me. This year, avocados are on the list. No, I need you to get out of the way. I think that they're not going to show me the Dirty Dozen unless I sign up and put my email in, which is worth it, you guys. Here's another one that I was shocked about this year. Sweet corn is on the Clean 15 list, which is just that. I don't remember that ever being the case. So you don't have to get organic corn this year. Pineapple, onions, which are not a regular thing, papaya, sweet peas, frozen ones, asparagus. That was the one I was buying asparagus, and there was no organic asparagus, and I was like, why is there no organic asparagus? Is it on the Clean 15? And it is. So you can buy just conventional. Honeydew melon, kiwi. We were talking about kiwi earlier. Clean 15. Cabbage, which is amazing. Have you seen that new recipe that's going around everywhere where you slice a cabbage into steaks and you put a raw burger on top and then you put them in the oven and it cooks the cabbage and the burger together? I'm told that it's fabulous. Mushrooms are on the Clean 15. Mangoes are on the 15. Sweet potatoes, great for Thanksgiving. Watermelon and carrots. So you do not have to. I was started to tell you a tip that you can usually tell what's on the Clean 15 because if it's at the grocery store and it's sitting here and they have the conventional one and it's, $2.45, but then they have the organic one and it's just 10 cents more, that's usually because the organic doesn't really matter. The ones that really matter, and you have to sign up in order to get the Dirty Dozen. But the ones that really matter is going to cost you more. And that's just the reality of it. And it generally means that there was some sort of pest that ate a lot of that crop this year. And so just the price of it is going to be pricier. So, okay, we've got just a couple of minutes to talk about this right now. But I want to put it out there that this is... It feels like a pain in the butt when you first start and think, okay, how can we get this as healthy as possible? It really does. It feels like we don't have enough going on. Like we don't have enough things that we have to do, and now we have to be careful about what we eat. I got to be honest, though, I think in the long run, it's one of the greatest things that you can do. That if you find that when you change your child's diet, you might see a couple of things. You might see that your child, in my case, when we eliminated gluten and casein, my child started adding language again. And that was a big deal to me. That made it all worthwhile. But we also saw that challenging behaviors and tantrums reduced too. And then we saw that when we went mostly organic, that his ability to focus and maintain attention for a longer period of time greatly, greatly improved. I saw that for myself, that I was able to focus more when I removed pesticides. You don't have to do everything. I would encourage you to pick one or two things from the list that I just gave you and say, okay, I can do that. I can take my child to the grocery store and we can go on a treasure hunt looking for things that are different colors of the rainbow. I could do that, right? For some of you, that might be like, oh, that sounds like the worst thing, whatever. But maybe you're willing to shred up some carrots and put them in your cupcakes the next time, right? So don't try to do everything overnight. Try to do one thing, one or two things, and see if it pays off for you. It could be that the food just tastes better. I mean, and that wouldn't be a horrible thing, right? I love, for instance, if you're gluten-free, I love the King Arthur vanilla cake mix. It was really hard to find, and I kept talking about it, and now more and more people carry it. You can even get it at Target now, which is just amazing, right? King Arthur vanilla cake mix. It's so fabulous, it doesn't need frosting, right? And I started taking that cake mix, and especially this time of year when there's just zucchini the size of baseball bats that seem to be growing everywhere, and you take the seeds out and you shred that up. You could do the same thing with carrots, but I really like the zucchini, and then we added the zucchini to the cake mix. and it makes like little zucchini muffins that, portable to go, whatever. You do have to be very careful and squeeze the water out of the zucchini, or it makes the cupcakes not rise. So you shred your zucchini and then you put it in a dish towel and just squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You can get your kids to do that. They think it's really fun, and it makes the green juice go down. Now you can save that and put it in a stew or whatever. Am I still shopping at Thrive? Yes, I do still shop at Thrive. That's one of my little tricks too, is that I am a member at Thrive, and I get a lot of my spices there. They're so much less expensive, and yeah, in fact, I need to put an order in at Thrive. But yes, I do shop at Thrive. I'm able to get some things that I get for our diets that either I can't find other places, or they're just a little bit cheaper at Thrive and they ship it directly to my house. But the spices, can I be honest, is what I really go back for, because to get completely organic, certified gluten-free spices is really hard and expensive at most of the stores I go to, and Thrive has them cheaper, and they make one that's the Cajun thing that I like way too much. It's way, way, way too much. So yes, I still do that. But anyway, sneak something into your child's food, or take them shopping, or have them cook with you. It's those little itty bitty small steps that lead to your child making good choices for themselves, which you want down the road. All right, we're out of time, but we are doing Ask Dr. Doreen live in the morning. Dr. Granpeesheh will be joining us from another place in the world, but we will have her live. And our topic tomorrow is dealing with conflict. And we had several different people write in about different conflict with your child, conflict with school, conflict with your significant other, whatever it is, dealing with conflict. How we can do that and get through it, because it can be really hard. And we all want to get to the gratitude. It's gratitude month. We all want to be there. I want to be in gratitude, but sometimes conflict kicks our can and makes it harder to do that. So Dr. Granpeesheh is going to answer some of your questions about that, but you guys can write in the morning about any topic that you want to. That is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific time, and I'll let you guys do the math for wherever you are. Thank you, though, for being here, and thank you for prioritizing your child's health, including their diet. It's an important thing to do. I'm sending you all hugs, and I'll see you tomorrow. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you, too. Thanks to Chris for getting us live on Facebook. All right, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye for now. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you so much. See you next time.